Jacques Morcos, presenting a case of a bypass. Georgios Zenonos was my fellow at the time and assistant. It is a case of Moyamoya disease. I am doing a left-sided bypass. Here is the angiogram of the left carotid showing typical Moyamoya vessels. I like to use a straight incision overlying the pulse of the STA. After making the incision, I use the bipolar for a quick and efficient dissection around the STA. I use the Glow 800 to visualize the STA, and I also cut the STA distally and measured the flow with a flow meter, and in this case it was 50 cc per minute. After performing the craniotomy and dural opening, I identify two recipient vessels. I placed a self-suctioning device for debris. I place background material behind the temporal M4, and I will also put one behind the frontal M4. The flow meter gives me flow measurements of both recipient arteries and the direction of flow. I also use the Glow 800 to visualize the recipient bed. I place temporary clips, in this case on the frontal M4 first. I fish mouth the end of the STA. I make the arteriotomy with a beaver blade, and I then anchor the heel of the STA to the 12 o'clock position of the recipient artery. The choice is between interrupted and running technique. In this particular case, we used the interrupted technique with the 10O ethylon. After finishing one half of the wall, I turn the STA to do the other side. Upon finishing the suturing, the clips are taken off. A slight amount of back bleeding is comforting that the bypass is not occluded. Glow 800 is used again to visualize the patency of the bypass and the recipient arteries. Next, I proceed with the other anastomoses using the same STA branch. This is now a side-to-side anastomosis between the STA and the temporal M4. After clamping the STA distally, I open the side of the STA, irrigate it thoroughly with heparinized saline, making sure no residual blood is inside the lumen. And in this instance, we will have to use a running technique because it is side to side. The back wall has to be done first, and that's important to do from inside the lumen. The suture is pulled hand over hand, leaving the loops loose and then tightened, and then the front wall of the anastomosis is done. All clips are removed. I measure the flow, and it is not surprising that it is 60 cc per minute, which is higher than the cut flow at the beginning because we performed two anastomoses with the same vessel. The Glow 800 also helps us to visualize very well the donor vessel and the entire recipient bed. And here is a list of all the flow measurements. Upon completion, the bone is replaced. Post-operative angiogram and post-op day 2 shows an excellent patent bypass.